So let's talk about the shadow DOM. So first discussion. Okay, sorry, Pia, there are some chats coming in the window, so I'm just reading them. I'm based in Tampa, close to Florida. If you ever visit the site, please feel free to contact me. Sure, Mega, thank you. I will be in touch, and whenever I be there, I'll surely ping you. Thank you so much for that. Okay, sure, Lakshmi. I will share the details with you. And wait, Devi is waiting for a link from me. Let me pass the link to her so that she can get that access. Yeah, Devi, I have sent you the link. Okay, I think now we can talk about, is Ronak there? Okay, Ronak left. Patricia and Rhonda are there. Fine. So Rhonda and Patricia, I'm not sure like how much investigation or how much you already know about Shadow DOM. So actually I have put slides from very basic level. Do you need that, or we can directly come to the Selenium discussion?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Rhonda.
Yeah. Oh, okay, because I have very limited knowledge of Shadow DOM other than just seeing it in our pages. So I just started looking into it maybe 4 weeks ago.
Okay. Fine. So we can start with whatever basic information I have gathered. Then we'll come to how far I have reached. Cool. So DOM we all understand. DOM is just a document object model. It's nothing but we know our HTML page is organized in form of some elements which have a parent-child relationship. So what is DOM? It is like whenever a web page is loaded, DOM is something which browser creates for us. So browser creates a tree of objects on the web page, and this tree is called DOM. And this DOM is something that is available for JavaScript to play with. So using JavaScript, we can move around in DOM. We can go and change the element settings. So this DOM, what it provides, this provides power to JavaScript to do the following. So if because of this DOM, this tree is there, JavaScript will be able to change the elements in the page. Basically what we can do through JavaScript, we can go and change the text of some element in the page. We can change attributes of element in the page. Then we can add, remove elements or attributes in the page. We can create events and we can react to events. So typically the way JavaScript works, it has similar function. In JavaScript also we can do, like in DOM we have in an HTML page, if we have, let's say, input ID is equal to name, and type is equal to text. So if this is a tag, using JavaScript what we can do, we can say find element by ID. These kind of functions are there in JavaScript. I don't remember exactly what the function is, because this function name is what we use in Selenium. But using JavaScript we can locate an element, and the way that works is that is part of a document. That function we can call, and we can give the name or ID. So since this is ID, so this is the ID we pass, and that way we get the element back. So where element, that is the syntax, and then once we get the element, then element has a set of functions on it using which we can change the element. So we can say element dot inner HTML equals, and we can say something. So if we run this piece of code, what it is going to do is, when it runs, it is going to search for an element whose ID is name, and in that it is going to put hello in the inner HTML of that tag. So what it will eventually make that is, it will make it similar to this, div hello and that is achieved through JavaScript code. So DOM gives power to JavaScript. so that at runtime JavaScript can update some of the elements that are there on the page. So that was mainly about DOM. It's a document object model. So some examples, okay, it's get element by ID, the function that I was talking about here, it will be get. So these are the functions that are there in JavaScript. So document object properties, a document has body, document has a document element, it has a title, it has a URL. So document is an object there like this. Then document has some methods, get element by class name, get element by name. These are similar to the methods we have been using in Selenium. And then there are write and write line methods, write ln, which can write something to HTML page. Each element that we get by these calls, get element by ID, get element by name, then element contains these properties, inner HTML, ID, attributes, class name, class top. So there are a hell lot of properties that are available from each element. So the reason we are talking about this is because we can understand what DOM is and what it empowers JavaScript to do, because that sets the context for Shadow DOM. So that way, if we look at this one example, so we can see this is a straightforward HTML where we are writing HTML, there is a body, there is a p tag which has an ID of dynamic content, and when we run this piece of code, what will happen? The script runs after running this, and script will search for an element whose ID is dynamic content, and after that it sets the inner HTML to dynamic content will show. That means this will replace inner HTML, whatever we are assigning to inner HTML, that will replace this text. So this won't show, is actually saying when you run this HTML page, this text will not show because script will override that, and this is JavaScript. And then this will show, and after that coming from script will come. Even this will appear as part of document. So let's save and run it. So if I say desktop and I say abc.html and I go and run this abc.html, you can say dynamic content will show has come, coming from script has come, but this will not show hasn't come because the script has played with the document object model with the tree and modified that. So if I remove these two things, now if I refresh it, this won't show is coming. So this power is given by document object model. So now we can move forward. These are again some methods of document. Now we come to the need of Shadow DOM. Where does Shadow DOM fit in and what is Shadow DOM? So these days we have seen websites, they require widgets or web components developed by others. So common example of that is, so IDE1 is a site where we can try our code in online editor. So if you want to write some Java code without installing Java on your machine, this is where you can write it and then you can run it here. So this widget that is coming here, using which we are able to compile code, this is developed by open source community, and they are just consuming in their site. This advertisement that we are seeing here, this is just area given to some other site to host advertisements in this. So this also is an advertisement. This is another widget which is coming from Facebook. All these pictures are coming from Facebook, and it is giving us a way to like. So what this page is doing, it is using widgets from other sites, and these widgets we can also call they are web components. So websites require widgets or web components developed by others, because if somebody has achieved something, if he has something up and running and working full-fledged, and we want the same thing on our website, rather than developing it on our own, we can directly consume it from them. So what will each web component contain? It will contain some HTML, some CSS, JavaScript, because everything goes as part of the page. You would have seen this ad will be changing here. After some time this will go into the new ad, third ad, fourth ad, because this is being controlled by the other website that is providing the ads here. Something keeps coming here. So these widgets or web components are the pieces that are developed by others, controlled by others. So whenever we want to include them, we want to keep them in such a way that though they don't impact our website content. Because we just now saw a previous example, and in this example we saw JavaScript can change the contents of our page itself. So this JavaScript was able to find an element and change it. So if like that, if we include somebody else's widget here, if that can go and change our code, then our site will look like it's a hacked site and something wrong is going on with that. So for that purpose, people want to use widgets from others, but they don't want them to impact their site. So what people want to do, they want their components in such a way that they can't access my component and my components don't interfere with their components. So this level of isolation we want to integrate and put in our site. So till today, the option that people use is iframe. So if I get iframe from someone else, so iframe is the way to include two pages within the same page. So in my page I can have two iframes. So iframe 1, iframe 2. We have seen an iframe example when we were dealing with the Selenium. So what happens with iframe is, whatever JavaScript is there in this iframe, that can change only the code of this iframe. So that way this JavaScript cannot change my iframe's code. So that provides us one level of isolation. So that is the way people had been using till today. But what happens with that is, this iframe, sometimes this code may become clumsy, this code may become bigger. So still people consume that way of integrating others' components. So this is the standard way of using other web components. But now what happened? Then browsers realized that there are some standard widgets that are used by typically every site. Most of the people need it and they are always consuming it using iframes from some third-party developer. So what browser companies started doing, they thought, what if we could also build some widgets like that and we can provide to people to use within their web page. So the technology that they are using for doing that is called Shadow DOM. So iframe is one way of using others' widgets which are developed by others. Shadow DOM are some widgets that browser companies, they are building as part of the browser. So it's a browser capability that we'll talk about now. So this is a widget again we are using, which is not developed by us, but we want to achieve something. So that sets the context for Shadow DOM. Any questions till this point? Because now our discussion will further be, till now it was just the background for Shadow DOM. Now we are going to dive into what is Shadow DOM and how it is used in our pages. Okay. So what is Shadow DOM? Okay, so Shadow DOM is a browser support that I typically talked about. So browser is giving you that support, inbuilt support. So it's ability of browser to include subtree of DOM elements. We are calling it subtree because it's not actually part of main document, because we don't want it to interfere with our main document elements. Same way as iframe is a sub part of our main document. By the way, iframe that we include in our page, it will have its own HTML tag. So any iframe that we get, their HTML starts with HTML, ends with HTML, they will have their own body, their own head. So that in itself is a new DOM, new document object model. The same way, include subtree DOM at any time, at the time of rendering. And this happens at the time of rendering, but they are not part of our main DOM tree. That's the reason they are calling this as a Shadow DOM. Some examples of that you can see, input ID slider. So let me copy this, put it in a notepad. We can also write HTML document without writing HTML tag, body tag. Typically browsers fill in that for us. So one way is to use input tag. I put HTML, then I put body, then I put in input tag. Or even if I skip HTML and body tag, that also would have worked. But still, let's go ahead with this complete. So I save it on desktop and say slider example.html, and we fix it because this. So now if I save it and I run it, you will see there is a slider that is appearing in the page. So this slider, where is it coming from? This is not a standard HTML tag. This is something that Chrome has built support in it, and Chrome is using some of existing widgets or existing controls that Google has developed. If I open the same file in Internet Explorer, let me right click and open the same HTML in a different browser. open with Internet Explorer. So you will see implementation of this will be different for Internet Explorer because this is not a standard right now. So each browser, they are building support based on how they like it. So you see Internet Explorer, this slider is different. Its rendering is different. Okay, it's taking some time. Yeah. So here I can, okay, yeah, here I can drag drop, it becomes blue and this. So this is a slider that Internet Explorer has. Same code working in both the browsers. Now let's go ahead and take a look at inspect element, what it shows us. Okay, I don't know, suddenly things became slow. So let me close other tabs. Yeah. So whenever we inspect such elements, we see in HTML code of these elements, there is only input tag. So it becomes hard to interact with it. So let's say if we want to, through Selenium, if we want to click this and move using mouse left and right, that is what we want to achieve. But if we search for input tag, then we don't have that way of doing it. We can't click at the center point because slider might be here or slider might be here. So that is where the challenge is being faced by the test community, like how do we interact with such a slider. Our slider is just one example. We have another example which will be more realistic. We take calendar. So let me put that also as part of this code. So along with slider, let's also include a BR tag for line break, and then we put the second one. And let me save it and refresh it. Now you will see there is a calendar control that has come. It has a drop down which opens the calendar for current month. I can go back, I can come forward, and it has up and down for year, clear, up and down for date, and we have clear. But in HTML, if we look at, there is just one tag. Now let's say if you are trying to automate a task where you want to just click it, open the calendar and select one of the date from this calendar control. So we don't have a way to interact with this calendar if we are going with the shadow DOM, because we don't know what exactly this is part of, or how do I inspect it and reach there. So that defines the problem I think most of you are facing. Is that correct? Okay. So yeah, so this is like, till now we have just defined the problem. Now the solution we want to figure out. How do we find out, like, because we understand this control is not one straightforward one line control. It has more attached to it, and there has to be some code that browser people would have written. Now where is that code? First goal is to find that code. So in order to find that, good thing is Google Chrome has as part of developer tools. So I go there. In developer tools, whenever you go to the general settings, here you see there is a setting called shadow user agent shadow DOM. Show user agent shadow DOM. So if I check this and I come back, let me close it. Now you see input has become little complex. So if I open it, it says it has a shadow root. That means this tag has something in it which is hidden from us. If we open that further, now we see there are some controls, and this is what is allowing us to achieve what we are able to do that. So there are some children control, child control, and each of the child control is corresponding to individual element here. So if I want to go to this down arrow, I can right click, I can say inspect element, and now I know this element is div, the pseudo is there, and ID is picker, and our goal is to find an element input. Then you go to a children of that which has ID picker, and we want to click that picker. And through Selenium, it would have been easy if this shadow root concept wasn't there. If all these controls were directly under input, we know we simply could have gone on this web element, we could have done find element by ID picker, and we could have achieved what we want. But since shadow root has come, now we need some support similar to in frames we can switch. So we saw examples in past. In Selenium, whenever we want to deal with controls in a frame, then Selenium switch to frame. So that is the kind of code we have written or we have used in past. So driver.switch2.frame, and we used to give the frame name or a frame tag ID. So that's how we used to switch. Now people are talking about, or Selenium community, I can say, Selenium developers, they are talking about giving the same functionality here also. That once you reach an element which has a shadow root, which has one more tree which is coming from a third party, how do we provide that facility to those people? So that support, unfortunately, Selenium hasn't built in yet. What Google did as part of their Chrome driver or Chrome server, because we know whenever we launch Chrome, we have an exe called Chrome server. Initially, in order to interact with Chrome, we downloaded some servers. So we downloaded Internet Explorer driver server and Chrome driver. So what Chrome team has done, they have built in support in Chrome driver, using which we have an option to switch to the shadow root. But this is something that we don't interact directly with. What we interact with is, we interact with Selenium classes and Selenium function. So somebody in Chrome driver class has to write code which can start using the new features they have added in this server to interact with the shadow DOM. Unfortunately, that is not there. So there is no way for us right now to switch to that root and accomplish it. So I included one link because that was a proposed change. Let me search for that. So I tried to gather all the things that people are talking about, and yeah, this is the one. So here they talked about that we should give support, like in a web element we should have a function given like get shadow root, so that if you locate the web element in our example, in this example, if we have located this input element, then from there we can switch to the shadow root and we can search for the element. So that is what it is demanding. Web element should have a function like get shadow root. It should return a shadow root to us, and what shadow root will provide us, it will provide us function like find element by ID. So what we can do, from input element we can find the shadow root. Once we get the shadow root, we say in shadow root find the element for me which is whose ID is picker. So that is one proposal that was initiated by someone on this thread, and it was part of Selenium spec also, but I think they have discarded that. So this kind of fix they are not giving right now. So I think I would have had that link also. So there is a Selenium spec, WebDriver spec here, not the one, yeah. So this is the document I'm talking about, where they talked about they will provide support like this: shadow DOM, a function like switch to subtree, and this function they are similar to switch to frame. Switch to subtree should also be there, using which we can switch to a shadow DOM. But this spec, as you can see on the bottom, it says this is an older snapshot of WebDriver spec implementation. So this is something which I see right now is discarded. So this kind of functionality initially they proposed that will be coming, but now there is no mention of this in the latest spec. So there is a link here for latest spec. So this is WebDriver spec. I tried to find out here shadow DOM, but there was no mention of that. So shadow is not, so that means whatever we saw previously, this has been, I don't know what's the reason, but this has been discarded for the time being. So unfortunately, like we don't have any way through WebDriver to access the shadow DOM. So we understand the Selenium problem. So straight away answer is, through WebDriver we don't have any way to interact with that directly. So if that is not the case, then how people are solving this problem currently? Because on net, if you search for shadow DOM, lots of people are making shouts like our testing is blocked, we are not able to test lots of scenarios, and we are not able to achieve it. Please build this feature sooner in WebDriver. And through some links there, I figured out people are using JavaScript approach to locate. We will talk about that approach now. If there is a way, as of today, if Selenium support does not come, then what is the way we can achieve? Okay, I think Rhonda has written a point, got it. So it's just Chrome driver and not exposed to WebDriver. Yeah, Rhonda, that understanding is correct. So it is only in the Chrome driver, not to the WebDriver spec. So that is, I think I have even that link also included here. because they mentioned as part of their spec somehow. Yeah, so this is the Chrome change, that shadow DOM proposal. So this is what they have done, and all this has gone into the Chrome driver server. And lots of places, the person who fixed it, he has mentioned like, whatever work I have done, this is half of the work, rest half is to be done. So here it says if web element that corresponds to this, then stale element, not this. So there is a, I got that a bug also nailed, the one where he fixed this issue. I think this is the bug. Support shadow DOM in Chrome driver. It is in Chrome driver, not in the web driver. Here he says the proposal is here. Does it need discussion? He says I have a working solution now, just need to get it approved. Warning, it's not going to be instant process, as this is 20% project, not my full-time job. Okay, this is something else. But somewhere he would have mentioned like this is going in Chrome driver, but not in the web driver. Okay, I saw that and mistakenly thought it went into web driver. Yeah, no problem, because that is misleading. Lots of people on internet, they are thinking like that support has come. So it's like the message should have come clearly out that support is there in the driver, in server, not the full-fledged support in web driver. Okay, 6 is what got us looking at using JavaScript. Okay, so 6 you are saying. 6, do you mean here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, these are release notes from for Chrome driver. Yeah, so this is what, oh, the last page. This. Okay, thank you for your time. A lot of buzz is happening on this. My team is working on Polymer. Okay. Yeah, so people are relying a lot of JavaScript based method. Okay. Yeah, so with that we understood like Selenium is not having full-fledged support to play it with classes that we know as of today. So if that is not the case, then what is the way we can use Shadow DOM? So I figured out one way that I can discuss with you now, and I tried to write some code around that. So let me see one example of that also if I have here. Yeah, so I think this is the example. So through JavaScript, people say like you can access the shadow root of an element. So this is also not a complete one, but through JavaScript I could see some people were saying once you locate an element, so if you take our example, old example, so what people are saying, if you can locate this element in JavaScript, because initially we saw in JavaScript there is a way of saying document.get element by ID. So here if we say the ID is date, which is in our case, sorry, it's calendar. So this way we can get an element for input ID. So we say input element. So what people are talking about, they say you can use a syntax like input element dot shadow root. Then this gives us access to an element which is the root of complete shadow tree. So ideally this should have given us the complete root of this tree, and on that, because that is also element, then people are saying dot get element by ID picker. Then this code should work. So this should give me the picker control. So this is the example that I could conclude to from internet search, that using current element we can get shadow root, and after that we can get an element by the ID. But unfortunately this code is also not working. Though Selenium provides us a way to execute JavaScript, and that way is something that I was talking about. So let me say open project, so existing project, my workspace. Okay, I think I lost that. Let me search for it where that code is. Okay. Oh, no problem. We can write that code again. So let me remove this from here. So let's create a new project called Shadow DOM. Right click and we say class. And we say shadow example. Oh, I think with this the old example came up. Okay, that's great then. Okay, so what I was trying to do here was created a Chrome driver, because assume like this feature works only with Chrome driver, and the goal that I found one page on internet which is kind of a sample page. I thought we can use this with Selenium to achieve what we are trying to do. So this is one page on which there are two frames. This is left frame, this is right frame, and right frame has one object which is a shadow DOM object. So we first open the Chrome driver and take it to this page. So you can see Chrome driver cd.get, and we are going to this page. Then on that page, since there are two frames, I right click here, inspect element. You can see there is first iframe which is this, and second iframe will be somewhere on the left side, somewhere above. If I right click here and I say inspect element, then yeah, there is, okay, wait, inspect element, okay, yeah, so there is this iframe that we are interested in right now. So what we need to do in Selenium, we need to go to switch to frame, and we need to give the frame ID or frame name. So this is the frame ID iframe result, which is the right frame. So first I'm switching to that frame. Now browser is focusing on the HTML of the right side, which is the HTML that is listed here. So there is HTML and this is the body. In that body, in the form, I think there is a date control, which is this, and under that we have a shadow root. So based on the investigations, ideally if we run JavaScript, we should be able to locate this element. So what I was trying to do was, this WebDriver allows us to run JavaScript as part of the browser. So what I did, I converted this to JavaScript executor, and based on that I'm trying to run javascript.execute script, and what I'm saying is document.querySelector. Then I tried to give so many examples. Like what we are saying is, if this is the complete HTML for me, then the way to locate that element, sorry, if this is the complete HTML, this area, then the way to locate element is this, ID is picker. So what I was trying to do was return document.querySelector, and we are using JavaScript syntax to locate that element. So this is the more closest example that I found on internet. So we are saying in document, select the object whose name is input. The tag is input, the name of that is birthday, and we want to get the shadow root of that. So that is what we are trying to do. The name of this is bday, tag is input, and we want to get the shadow root of that, because once we get the shadow root as part of our web element, then we will be able to do the search within that. But unfortunately this call itself is failing. If this call would have returned, so whenever I run this, it says WD is null. That means it is not able to get shadow root property of this element. So right click, run as Java application. So right now it will launch the Chrome browser, first 2 lines, then it will switch to the frame, then it will try to execute JavaScript, but unfortunately this element is coming null. So if somehow from this, if we can successfully get a web element, so WD will be web element, we'll convert it to later. If we can get that, then ultimately if we could reach to the root of this, then it will be just a Selenium call. So ideally we are not able to switch from the main DOM tree to this shadow road tree. Once the switch is possible in WebDriver, we will be able to proceed further. So that is where I got stuck, and I thought like at least this information I can share with you so that you can talk to developers in your team in case they can help us get past this. Even in JavaScript, if they can give us a JavaScript which can work on the page that they are writing, and on that page if we can get a shadow root and then we can get the child element of that, I think that will allow us to proceed with this approach. So here you see it says WD is null, and that is where I got blocked.
Yeah, we did something very similar, but we weren't able to get down to the shadow root document either. But what one of our developers was able to do was to just access individual elements inside the shadow root. So he couldn't get the whole DOM return, but he could get to individual elements in it.
You mean through JavaScript?
Yeah.
Okay, if he could get that, then I think if that line we can put here, then whatever we are getting back, we just need to convert that to web element. And then our Selenium command will start working on that. So if you can get that JavaScript and place it here, then I think we'll be good to proceed from there.
Okay, well thank you very much. I really appreciate you looking into it.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So this code I will share. I will put that as part of our OneDrive only, so you will have access to it. So whatever progress you do, like keep me also posted, because even I am curious to figure out like what we are doing and where we are wrong. So yeah, so that was it from my side. Okay, so any further questions on this? Okay, no problem, Patricia. Okay, cool. So I will upload this deck and this code. Let's see if we can do some progress, we can find some solution. Okay guys, then I'll be signing out now. Thanks for having patience, even though I did not share the complete solution, but still you listened to it patiently. Thank you. Okay, thanks Gaurav.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very helpful. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Great job.
Thank you, Rana. Thank you. Bye.